So, hi, I'm Gabby Nistico. I am a voiceover actress. I am a voiceover coach. I'm an author. I am a podcaster, a YouTuber. Pretty much my entire professional career has revolved around the voiceover industry in some way, shape, or form. And today I'm going to address a lot of the questions that I'm normally asked by people who are just starting to consider voiceover as a career. Folks who are like, I think it would be really cool. I think it might be kind of fun if I was able to use my voice to make a living, or maybe people compliment their voice all the time. But they're so early in that stage that you're really kind of questioning, is this for you or not? So I'm going to help you figure that out. Well, as you can see, we're outside of my studio, which is kind of unusual. That's not typically the norm. Usually you find me in the little gray box. But today, we decided to make it a little more casual, a little more chill, show you some other parts of my house, and really just have a sit down, have a face-to-face, get very personable about the voiceover industry, the questions that you might have. And I want this to really be just a very casual chat where people feel comfortable and like, hey, she's actually addressing the things that I want to know and not being sold a product or pitched something. So I think the first thing that you have to know is if you're considering a voiceover career, you need to take a bit of a step back from the idea of jumping out and getting work and buying equipment and building a studio and having a microphone and the doing of voiceover, and instead focus on being a student of voiceover. Focus on learning, education. If you were wanting to do anything else with your life, any career, maybe you wanted to learn how to play an instrument, you would first approach it from the education standpoint, and you would be doing a lot of research and a lot of reading, and you would be looking at instructors and teachers and mentors and guides, and you would be getting advice from people. So that's where I want folks to start, because honestly, that's where you're going to get the most valuable insights before going out and spending a bunch of money, or before just kind of diving in headfirst into this industry and then going, I don't understand why nothing's happening the way I want it to. So that's really, I think, critical. What goes along with that is not only internet research and using Google and search engines to find answers to common questions, which is probably how you found me, but it's also going to be about reading books, and we're going to get into that. There's some great voiceover authors that I want you to be familiar with, whose books I want you to take the time to buy, to read, to really absorb that material, maybe read it a couple of times. And this is all in advance of trying to, again, jump in there and get work. The internet. Yeah, it is completely overwhelming right now. I say it almost every day. I do not envy people that are looking to break into this industry right now, today. There is so much information. There's so much conflicting information. There's so much content all over the web. It can become so confusing and so just maddening. So I get it. And if I hope to do anything today to help you, it's just that. It's to kind of make sense of some of that madness that's out there. Some great online resources and content that you want to look at are, first and foremost, through social media. You're going to find groups. There's loads of voiceover groups, especially on Facebook, for every interest, every area of voiceover, every topic you could ever imagine. There are websites like VoiceOver Extra. There's the GVAA. There's, of course, SAG-AFTRA, which is the main union for the acting industry. All of these become great educational tools and resources. And of course, look in your local area. See if there is not necessarily a school or an institution of some kind, but just a group of like-minded voiceover actors getting together and communicating. Meetup.com might be a great way to find them. So, the big thing is, look out for the big promises and be a savvy shopper and look for the immediate sales pitch. If something sounds too good to be true, if it's a little too pushy, a little too forceful, then the that content, again, is not necessarily being provided for education. It's being provided with an agenda from the person or company that put it out. And their agenda is most likely to get you to buy something. And it may be a substantial investment that you might not be ready for yet. So we want to kind of, again, put that on the back burner. Biggest thing right now is looking for content that answers questions about the 3 individual areas of voiceover that make up any voiceover career, regardless of what specific offshoot or subset of the industry you might want to go down. So it works like this. You've got basically performance, technology, marketing, sales, and business. Okay. And so there are 3 individual tasks, skills, things that you need to know how to do and be prepared for as a voice actor. But you want to break them up. You want to see them as very separate endeavors. So performance, obviously, hugely important, paramount. It's the core, the foundation of everything we do. Your acting skills, your abilities on mic, your abilities to use your voice. However, technology is a whole other area, and you may need to seek expert help or specific help to deal with the tech side of things. Same thing goes for business, sales, and marketing. The voiceover industry is not one company. It's lots of little individual industries that are just linked by this header, this name called voiceover. So you might be sitting here right now with a very specific idea in your head of what voiceover is. And so, but it truly right now at this point, it doesn't matter, because whether you're endeavoring to be an animation actor, video game voice actor, audiobook narrator, corporate e-learning narrator, commercial actor, TV promo. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Regardless of what it is, the foundation still has to be there. That stuff almost comes later. Kind of a fun way to look at it is if you were wanting to go to medical school, you first have to do all of your pre-med, and you have to get all those prerequisites out of the way. And then a little later on in your education, you pick a specialty and you pick an area of medicine to practice. Yeah, so the importance of not putting gear ahead of education. Oh gosh, I can't stress it enough. I can't. It's so important. It happens all the time. There's a lot of propaganda out there. There are a lot of companies that would love to have you believe that if you just go out right now, go to Amazon, buy a USB microphone, a cheap interface, or even a piece of software for your phone, that you can pretty much immediately start recording voiceovers and making money. No, it's not true. Please, guys, as somebody with 20 plus years in this industry, that is not an accurate statement. It's not accurate of any industry. If it was that easy, we'd all be doing it. If it was that easy, I wouldn't have a job. If it was that easy, right, I wouldn't be an expert in the field. Nothing is that easy. Nothing. And so people get really excited about that doing portion of things, which I totally get. I'm that way, right? When I want to do something, I want to jump in. But I'm telling you, you've got to take that step backward and really instead focus on educating yourself first so that you know what you're doing and saving yourself money in the long run, and not making poor equipment purchases too. I can't tell you how many people right now are buying microphones based on weird internet suggestions and finding out very quickly that those mics are useless and have no value, and they literally wasted that cash. Used gear is fantastic, and you can always find used gear from eBay to pawn shops to, even some like Guitar Center has a used gear section. You can always find really quality stuff secondhand. But so no, you don't have to go out and buy the newest, fanciest thing. But at the same time, a cheap setup that promises to do it all is not going to do it all, nor is it going to be a good investment. Yeah, it's inexpensive, but I promise you it's not going to be what you want it to. Yeah, you can find bundles online with, a mic and an interface and maybe a pair of headphones for under $300. It's not going to get you anywhere. It's not going to be a worthwhile investment. Save up, save that $300, compound it, right? Expand and then get a bigger budget built up, and then you can actually make a significant and worthwhile investment. There's a really fine balance with that stuff where you want to start with quality equipment, but you can start small. You don't have to go out and buy everything all at once. That's exactly what I did with my career. I started with one thing. I started with a great microphone, and then I built up from there. And over the years, sure, I've had loads of upgrades to my studio. I've invested tons of money into the process, but I was able to justify it at each step of the way because I was starting with quality material to begin with. So again, I think to recap, for beginners, it really is about finding quality resources. There are other voiceover coaches like myself who put out great material, a lot of it for free. Some of us do monthly workouts, and we do these little kinds of fun low cost or no cost events that you can attend online via Zoom, and you can participate in a group workout and group copy readings. Those are great. I have one of those. It's called the VVE. Anne Ganguzzo runs a group called VO Peeps. Lisa Biggs has a group called Women in Voiceovers. So there's a lot of these out there. You just kind of have to find them. GVA, I mentioned them earlier. They also have one of those types of groups. And what's going to start happening too is you'll start to hear the same names over and over. You'll start to hear about the same coaches, the same career makers in our industry. And then you go and do a little bit of research on them. Look at the conferences they speak at. Look at the different events that they attend or have attended over the years. Conferences are another great way to find credible sources of material and educate yourself. And there's various types of conferences. Some of them are now completely virtual and online, and you can attend without ever leaving home, which is really nice. And you also have things that are a little bit more tangible in the immediate, like books. Okay. So when it comes to voiceover books, I think it's really important that you sort of set the parameter of what it is you're looking for before you actually make the investment. There are some killer books about our industry, but I think you have to put them in two different categories or classifications. You've got education, material, and resources, and then you have biographies. And there's nothing wrong with biographies. They can be a ton of fun, and they can obviously be really entertaining and give you a lot of insight into a notable person who has made a name for themselves in voiceover. But the biography is more going to focus on how they got where they got to, and usually it includes a story that can't be replicated. I think every celebrity voice actor has some really amazing story that magic will just never get captured again. Nancy Cartwright, the voice of Bart Simpson, in her biography, she talks about how she was discovered and how she got her career started, which was literally she was scooping ice cream as a teenager in California. That's never gonna happen, right? Their biographies just get into the intricacies of that person. Like I said, they're fun, they're entertaining, but you're not going to really gain a quality education from them. See them as what they are. H. John Benjamin's, his book is hysterical. I've read it like 3 times. It's great. But it doesn't really offer a whole lot of insight into how to actually get into voiceover. So James Alberger is like the godfather of our industry, if we have one. If we had a pope, he's it. I love James. He's so great. He's just the sweetest guy. So James has been making a living in voiceover longer than I think, just about anybody I know. He started in and around the voiceover industry at a time where it wasn't even a thing. And so we're going back to like the early to mid 70s, really. And outside of animation, outside of cartoons, nobody knew what a voice actor was or what voiceover was. And he saw the future. He really did. He was kind of ahead of the curve, and he saw the technological advancements, and he knew that this industry was going to explode. And sure enough, it did. He owns and operates a school out of San Diego, California, called the Voice Acting Academy, and he has written what I and most other members of our community consider to be the foremost book on the subject of voice acting. And this is coming from someone who has written books on voiceover myself. And still, I look to James as kind of the guidepost for that process. If you've not read The Art of Voice Acting, you have to. It's literally mandatory reading for anyone who wants to get into this industry. Elaine Clark is fantastic. She has written a book called There's Money Where Your Mouth Is. It's another one. It's a really robust textbook style education self-study book. It's really great. She also runs a company out of the Bay Area in California, called Voice One. Very prolific, very well-known instructor. Rodney Salisbury, who has written a slew of different voiceover books. Pat Fraley, he's another great voiceover author. There are quite a few, and you really should make it an endeavor to read as many of them as you can. So, to me, the main reason why you do all of this reading and why you invest in books first and foremost, there's one goal, and honestly and truly, it's one goal only. It is to help you figure out the most cost effectively if this industry is right for you. That's it. It's literally, after reading this book, am I still as enthusiastic as I was when I started it about the industry? Am I still as enthralled with the industry? Do I still believe that my life, my lifestyle, my day-to-day availability is going to be befitting of the voiceover industry? Do I believe that I have a skill set or something unique to offer in the industry? All of that, but literally it's figuring it out from the standpoint of, how can I do that for the least amount of money? If the difference, honestly, is let me spend $5,000 and go take a bunch of classes and coach with somebody and do a course, or I could spend $30 and read a book and find out, I have a really busy life and I have a small apartment and I have 2 kids and a dog and I don't have even a space in my house to put a studio and I don't really have the sort of financial commitment that's necessary for this right now. Plus I work a day job that I don't want to leave. Maybe this isn't for me right now. And that's okay. I would rather that people figure out earlier that maybe this just isn't right for them, and do it inexpensively and be able to move on to something else that is right for you. So I wrote a book called VO 101, and it really started as a collection of my lesson plan and my syllabus that I was working with my students, and kind of built and expanded over the years. And about 10 years ago, it turned into an actual published work, and we update it all the time, and I'm constantly looking to keep it as fresh as I can for everybody. It's my passion on paper. It was a chance for me to really, again, share with everybody my perspective on the industry, put that business forward approach that I have onto paper, and give my way of practically applying and being able to study and practice voiceover at home. So yeah, there's a lot of voiceover books out there. There are really some fantastic titles. I mean, these are just a few of the ones that I've been talking about. Obviously, here's my own. Here's Elaine's book, There's Money Where Your Mouth Is. And, these are like my house copies. Like, they're dusty, they're worn, they're marked up, there's highlighters in them. I mean, because I use them. They're part of my repertoire as a voice actor as well. And, I mean, they're great resources and references. And when you compare the subject of voiceover to something like finances, the amount of books on the market are not that many. It's maybe a dozen and a half books that we have that are really worthwhile versus, the hundreds, if not thousands, that you could find at Barnes & Noble. The irony of it is, if you've ever gone to a major book retailer and tried to buy a voiceover book off the shelf, it probably wasn't there because we're not, again, that big an industry. You might find books on acting and they might have a little bit of content related to voiceover, but unless you're in a major metro like New York or LA and there's a big acting community, yeah. Voiceover comes with an investment. I say this all the time. That investment is a combination of both time and money. because both of those things are valuable. And you have to be prepared realistically for what that's going to look like. And everyone's situation is a little bit different. I think everyone's individual experience varies. So, mileage may vary, so to speak. But again, we want to kind of set some basic parameters. So realistically, what you have to kind of start with is a comparison. And let's look at going back to school. If you wanted to start any other profession, that's going to be probably the first thing that pops into your head. What kind of an education do I need? What sort of a degree do I need? There's no such thing as a degree in voiceover. There's a few colleges that are now starting to offer some classes in them, but yeah, you can't graduate with like a major in VO. That's not a thing. You are talking about definitely a part-time education, maybe not again as much as part-time collegiate, but still part-time. So you have to have the hours available each week to dedicate to that process and to dedicate to your studies and to homework and to practice. You have to have a life that is going to afford you to be able to make the investment, because yes, it is going to cost something. No, it may not be again as much as going back to a university. It's very unlikely that you would have to take out any kind of a loan, but it's possible. And I have seen some people do that, because at the end of the day, you're also starting a small business. And I don't know of any small business that comes with zero startup investment or zero startup cost. There is startup cost. It's a very real thing. The performing arts has always been a target for scammers and disreputable companies. And there's a few reasons why. One, they prey on people's hopes and dreams and that thing inside of you that says that you can do this, that you can be really, really good at it. And so they feed people's egos, but in a bad way. However, what's happening there and the motivation and what's underlying and why these companies even exist is because they see that it's lucrative. They see the opportunity to make money off of unsuspecting hopefuls. And yeah, voiceover scams are very real. And some of them, it's interesting because some of them may not be outright scams, but they're definitely disreputable. They're not companies that the rest of the industry is really backing and excited or enthusiastic to work with. And so you have a lot of these sort of like lone wolf companies that are sort of off in their own corner. And when you really start researching them and you really start researching their position in the industry or whether or not they have a lot of community ties in voiceover, you find that they don't. And it's because they've kind of been blacklisted. We've all just kind of gone, ooh, no, not those guys. We don't want to associate with them. So that's an important thing to keep in mind. The other thing I think we see a lot is just when somebody's making a promise that's just too good to be true. If they're promising that it can be done really fast, it can be done semi-cheap, and that it can be, achieved with very little effort, please don't buy it. One of the things that the scam companies will do is a lot of them have like a college classroom or community college adult education type classes, and so you pay like a really cheap fee to go sit in a room with up to 50 people and basically be told all the wonders of the voiceover industry and how amazing it is. And it's usually fun and you learn a few things and then you go home, and sometime within probably 3 days of taking that class, you're going to get an email or a letter, and it's going to say how amazing you were and how much potential they think you have. And oh my gosh, we totally think you can do this. And so now we want to invite you to the next step of our training or to our master class or whatever the heck they want to call it. And it usually comes with a really heavy price tag. The price tag, ironically, though, is not abnormal. It's not off base from what you might spend elsewhere in getting your voiceover career started. The issue is what you get for the money. That's where the balance is off. They want to do things very quickly. They want to race you through classes. So instead of working for maybe a year or at least 6 months, you're doing your training in a matter of weeks. So it's very, very quick. And what they're pressuring you to do and what they're trying to prime you for is to make a demo. And voiceover demos are absolutely essential, and they're a big part of our industry. But if you make a demo prematurely and you make it without proper training and you make it before you're ready, it'll be a pretty shitty demo. And it's not going to get you work, and it's not going to result in the kind of situation you were hoping for. So all voice actors train to make demos. All of us, even myself, that is literally our prime objective when we train and when we work with a coach. The end prize is always the creation of a demo. But it's knowing when it's the right time to make it. Am I ready to make that? And your very first demo, that's the one it will take you the longest to get to. It will take the longest amount of time to achieve to get to that point of being able to put out a quality product that you can then replicate on your own. Yeah, they kind of, a lot of these companies like to dangle carrots is what I call it. They put like something really great and juicy, like just out of reach, just off that way somewhere. And it's always something absurd. I mean, again, it's like, we're working with a top-notch casting director who can help to introduce you to all the major players in voiceover and all the agents, but it's going to cost you $3,000 to meet them. Or it's, when it comes to, if you've ever had one of your children or a relative approached in the mall by, a talent scout who's like, oh my gosh, your daughter is beautiful, she should be a model. It's the same thing. What they're trying to do is they just want to sell you on the portfolio of pictures. And those pictures aren't going to be very good anyway. So it has a lot of that feel about it. The other thing that I think you're going to find is that when you really start doing the research and when you really start looking at the instructors and the people that are teaching these classes, most of them don't really have a viable voiceover career, and most of them don't have any even notoriety in the industry. Some of them are even very new themselves. So we talked a little bit about the time commitment, but I want to go back to that to really paint a much clearer picture on what that looks like. Everyone's situation is different. Everyone's individual experience is unique, but I'm going to try to take some common scenarios into account so you can use that to sort of figure out where you stand. If you have an acting background, if you are an actor, if you have worked in the performing arts, if you are a singer or musician, if you maybe have a broadcasting background, you have some really big advantages that are going to help you get into this career faster. Now, I'm not saying it still won't be work, it's just faster. It might take you anywhere from 6 months to 2 years to go from where you are right now to being in a position of working and booking jobs and basically launching your own voice acting career. However, if you do not have a performance background, if you have never performed in any way, shape, or form, if you have been an accountant, an IT professional, a plumber, take your pick, I don't care, any of the other gajillions of possible professions that are out there, you are going to have a much longer road ahead. And your individual commitment could be anywhere from 5 to 10 years or more. I don't say it to burst people's bubbles, and I don't say it to be mean. It's just about setting realistic expectations. You not only have to learn all of those things I was talking about earlier, you not only have to learn the technical components of equipment and recording and editing and how to own and operate your own studio. You have to learn how to market and sell your services and brand your voice and get your name out there to potential buyers and understand who those potential buyers are and where they are and how to find them. But you also have to make up, in a sense, the lost time of not having that performance background. You have to learn the basics of acting. You have to learn about improv. You have to learn about script interpretation, character development, how to use your voice. There's so many intricacies to that process. it's not going to happen fast. It takes a really long time. So, can you do it part-time basically, or can you learn part-time while you're living your life and earning a living and, raising your family and doing whatever else you do? Yeah, of course. Absolutely. That's the whole point. But you have to have an income and something to sustain you during that learning curve so that you can make this all work. And hey, if you do it faster, that's awesome. Great for you. But take the time to do it right and set realistic expectations so that you're not in a year beating yourself up or down on yourself going, why didn't it work? Why didn't I get anywhere? Why did nobody hire me? Too soon.